Well, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather we got. Wait a minute. Well, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather, whether or not. There it is.
Good morning, Prince George, and good afternoon, Winnipeg. This is the Comedeorological Report. I am your host, Joey Only. The Comedeorological Report. See, comedy and meteorology. It's your comedy weather show, because the weather's been kind of funny lately, you know, I've been thinking. This is your show about how much the weather sucks in Canada, and suck it does indeed. I am, like I said, Joey Only. You're listening to us on 88.7 FM and Prince George on CFUR 88.7 FM. Did I just say that twice? I did. And you're listening to us on CKUW 95.9 FM in Winnipeg. We record the show on Thursday night, so it's the 3rd of February right now. You will hear us on the 5th in Prince George and the 7th in Winnipeg. So don't take our forecasting too seriously because things do change, but generally this is a good place to find out what's been going on across Canada. This is a good place to find out what the big world weather stories might be. This is a great place to find out what might be happening next. So without much further ado, I'll introduce you to the Comedeorological panel starring head Comedeorologist Frankie MacDonald from Sidney, Nova Scotia. He's here with us tonight. He'll be first up, of course, as always, tonight, this morning, this afternoon, depending on how you're hearing us. If you're watching us on YouTube, you could be watching us any time of day, I guess. The show can be found on my YouTube channel, Joey Only, the Caribou Weather Dude. We also got Brandon Houck, our weather specialist from 105.7 FM, the country radio station in Brooks, Alberta. And we got our friend Peter Galanko, who's down in Virginia Beach. I'm pretty sure we're going to see Noelle as well, Chaos from Vancouver, show up at some point. But first, as always, the most important thing, of course, is to talk to our friend, Frankie MacDonald.
Frankie, the Weatherman. Frankie, the Weatherman. Who?
Frankie!
Who?
Frankie!
Ladies and gentlemen, Frankie!
Frankie, how you doing so
Doing
far?
great so far. It's supposed to get a lot of freezing rain all across Nova Scotia and Massachusetts tomorrow. It's going to bring lots of freezing rain in Massachusetts, Nova Scotia. That's going to cause widespread power outages. Possible it's going to bring, and there's a chance of major ice storm, just like the Montreal 1998 ice storm that knocked out power for the whole month. It was so bad in Montreal. That was a historic ice storm in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. It was so bad, knocked out power for the whole month. It was history. Then the cold air is going to bring a lot of snow all across New Brunswick, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, interior New York, even Toronto got snow and things like that. They're bringing lots of freezing rain all across parts of Pennsylvania, Kentucky, southern Ohio, Tennessee, and all these places. And they're bringing a lot of freezing rain in Texas and snow in Texas. It was so cold there where Trey Camp was at.
Just like last February.
They're getting a lot of rain all across New York City. It's going to change over to freezing rain, sleet, and snow there, too. Even Washington, D.C. is getting some rain as well. All the way down to Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia. They're bringing thunderstorms and more thunderstorms in Florida this week coming up. It's going to bring a lot of thunderstorms to Miami, Florida, and all these places. And all across Australia, it's bringing a lot of fires and hot weather and rain and thunderstorms and hail. And South Africa's getting a lot of drought right now. New Zealand.
Here comes the story of the hurricane.
There's an island, there's a Madagascar, Africa's getting a tropical cyclone tomorrow. It's going to aim towards there. It's going to bring a lot of damage to winds and heavy downpours. That's going to knock out power, destroy buildings there.
What's the name of the cyclone?
The name of the tropical cyclone is Batsari.
Sorry, right. I've been in logging camp, of course, so I'm not as up on my weather details as I should be. I've been living in the weather, of course. So, Frankie, Brandon was telling me that we might be seeing 70 millimeters of freezing rain in parts of Nova Scotia. And that does remind me, you brought it up, of the 1998 ice storm. I was 18 years old when that happened, and I missed 2 weeks of school. It was awesome. I was so happy. It was
power was out for the whole entire month.
It was. We didn't lose our power much where I was, fortunately. We just had so much ice we couldn't move.
And parts of Montreal had no power for the whole month. They had to set up emergency shelters and things like that.
Places in Quebec went 3 months, some of them, without power.
How bad it was.
It was an amazing storm. That was all from...
That was the worst power outage ever.
It was all that warm air and moisture coming up from the Gulf of Mexico.
It was mighty bad in Montreal, Quebec.
Hit a cold front that was kind of moving through through central Ontario and Quebec, and when it hit that, it just dropped its rain, and it was incredible.
In Vancouver, British Columbia, is well overdue for a deadly 9.0 magnitude earthquake, megaquake. People in Vancouver, you can't escape from major earthquakes forever.
They can't escape earthquakes forever.
Vancouver can't escape from earthquakes forever. If a 10.0 magnitude earthquake happens, the whole West Coast will be totaled.
What has been going on for volcanoes this week? Have you heard any volcano news, Frankie?
There's a volcano erupting somewhere in the world, and I got something to say. Did you hear about that? It's supposed to be a 9.0 magnitude earthquake sometime this decade. Somewhere in the world. There's an asteroid, 2009 JF1, headed towards the Earth on May 6, 2022.
It's going to bypass the Earth?
It's going to cause a lot of earthquakes, even the asteroid bypasses the Earth.
The gravity of it, you think, or what?
Yes.
What about Russia this week, Frankie? You always up on Russian weather?
It's extremely cold there. Once again, in the month of March, Russia will gradually warm up starting in March.
How about Japan?
Russia's going to gradually warm up.
Has it been snowing in Japan this week?
Over in Japan, they're bringing a lot of stormy weather and cold temperatures in Japan. Lately, it's bringing a lot of snow in western Japan. It was so cold in Vladivostok, Russia. It's really cold North Korea and South Korea. In Beijing, China, it's really cold. It was so cold in Beijing, China, and it caused the rainy season starts in Thailand and China, not till spring and the summer in my area. India will be starting their summer in April. There'll be extreme heat and humidity in India. Once again, in June and July, their summer ends, their monsoon season starts. Once their summer is over, our summer starts.
Some of the temperatures in India over the last few years have been above what people can really survive, into the high 40s, low 50s.
It was really bad there.
Tell us, Frankie, hear any news about climate change this week?
Global climate change happening in the world.
What YouTube
That
videos?
means they're melting the ice caps up in the North Pole.
What podcasts have you been on this week?
The podcast I was on is Reckless Aries Radio yesterday. I was on the Ghetto Basement podcast, Herb Before You. And I was on, and another podcast I was on is Chase the Marshall, We Don't Have Cookies, back on Sunday. And Roger the Wild Child returns on Sunday, coming up.
Did you, I was in on Gary and Dino this weekend, but I didn't hear you do your normal thing. What were they doing on Gary and Dino? They were at a live kind of a show?
I was on Gary and Dino's show last week. I sent it to them through email.
Ah, gotcha. What videos did you make this week for YouTube?
I just did a forecast for Texas, got lots of views. Then I did a forecast for Toronto, got over 10,000 views. My TikTok is not as doesn't get as much views as you're interested, because teenagers, a lot of them are clowns. A lot of them are clowns, and a lot of them they don't know what you're saying. A lot of teenagers don't like any public figures, and a lot of public figures and a lot of celebrities, musicians, movie stars, and things like that, and talk show hosts, because they don't know any better yet, those teenagers.
Well said, Frankie.
Hey, Peter Galanko. How you doing today,
Carson Dessler's a really nice guy. He knows better. Carson Dessler and Reese and all of Carson's friends. When I was doing a podcast with him last year, Carson's a really nice guy.
Yeah, they're like
not
60,
all teenagers are terrible, but some are.
I was.
Carson had his own podcast. Carson's a really nice guy. He avoids clowns too.
So, Frankie, tell me about Ottawa right now. What's going on in Ottawa?
Over in Ottawa, national capital Canada, it was really going to get really cold there.
Do you think that cold will make some of those truckers
really
go away?
cold there? And a lot of them are heading for California now too. And then the next time, my next interview with Donna Mantis podcast, they'll be on February the 22nd, and the Shuley Show on February 22nd. Then on February 23rd, I'll be on Base Guy Show again. Base Guy Show is down to once a month now, according to Base Guy. Chinese pizza, it's Italian, not Chinese. It's Italian.
What was the best food you ate this week, Frankie?
I like it. I had one of them. I had hamburger steaks, and I had a pizza turnover.
A pizza turnover? What's that?
It's like a caponzo meats when they wrap it. Calzones like a turnover when they wrap it around. It's like a pepperoni and cheese inside.
Did you have any Chinese food this week?
No.
Excellent. Frankie MacDonald, Sidney, Nova Scotia. Here all episode. And if you ever have questions for Frankie MacDonald, let us know, and we will answer your questions.
All right, Brandon Houck out here to win. Almost lost it by 2.
We're going to head over to Brooks, Alberta right now and talk to Brandon Houck. Brandon Houck, the weather specialist, the Doppler boy himself. He's over there. He works at 105.7 FM Country, but that's not the only radio station he's on. He's probably been on like 15 stations this week, I'm sure. And he's got his little book of notes he was showing me ahead of time. So I know that he's well prepared, as always. In fact, he's more well prepared than I am. I'm living out of a backpack right now. I'm in logging camp out in the Chilcotin Plateau, where I just had a terrible day, I was telling Brandon, because it was so wet and gross out there, basically sinking in snow and snow sticking in my snowshoe. And there seems to be no end for that warm weather for us, Brandon.
Oh no, yeah, we've got some warm weather. There's there's my book of notes right there as I disappear in the atmosphere here. So it's been actually pretty wild. Earlier this week, we had an system coming out of BC forming Alberta Clipper, and that thing just wrapped up like some guy on a high horse going 30 miles an hour down the road. That was it got pretty wild out there indeed, with temperatures dropping. We had a warm start to the week. We had temperatures mid to high single digits. It was nice and warm. And then this low pressure system rapidly developed here in the province of Alberta. And we saw an area of snow develop across central northern parts of the province. And then that band of snow continued to work its way towards the south. And we had a very strong Arctic cold front go through, and the winds picked up. And on Monday, they were out of the north at 50 to 60, and we had wind gusts anywhere from 90 to 100 kilometers an hour. And I think Bazzano had a peak wind gust of 113 kilometers an hour on Monday. So it was, it was a lot of fun to be outside in that wind. Other areas didn't just get the wind. Here, we just got the wind, just a few little flurries here and there. That was about it. But you go down the road just a little bit towards Tilly and up north towards Hannah, they had a heavy batch of snow go through with those, along with those winds, and an actual blizzard developed in central parts of the province. So we had blizzard warnings extending into Saskatchewan, and I saw a lot of pictures. People were sending me videos of the situation up at Hannah, where they were at the Cactus Corner truck stop, and they could not see the road or the highway or even the truck stop itself. It was so bad, the visibility. So that was the situation up in the Hannah area. And they were, I think on Highway 36 there, they had it was a house. Somebody decided to move one of those modular houses in this storm. That was a very bad idea. And the wind picked up the house, blew it off the trailer, and the house ended up in the ditch. Well, it was sitting right side up, but the truck also ended up in the ditch. The trailer also ended up in the ditch. So that was a wild situation just north of Hannah. So that caused a big backup because everyone was kind of concerned about what happened there. So everyone was backed up on Highway 36 because of that. So that was one scene that we had, accident scene or sort of accident. I don't think anybody was hurt in that house got blown off the trailer there. So note fact, don't ever move houses when the wind's kilometers an hour.
In the Peace region, a friend of mine who collects
don't try
buildings.
And move a house in a windstorm.
A friend of mine who collects buildings in Dawson Creek, he was moving a building, same sort of thing, and the wind blew it off and landed upside down in the ditch. But he just kept driving and left it in the ditch. True story. So continue.
Oh boy, yeah. Well, this guy actually. I think I got a picture here. Hold on. I think I pulled up the picture here, as you can see it. I'm just going to take the background off quickly. So we'll do that.
And I got Chinook winds headed for Alberta tomorrow.
Yes, Chinook winds. We'll get to that in just a second. We might have another. So there's the house right there in the ditch. There's the truck there, and I think the trailer's over here. Yeah, part of the trailer there on the side of the road. So the truck's in the ditch, house is in the ditch. So it was a bad day for this guy going down Highway 36. Not a lot of snow, but it was blowing so hard that wind gusts of 113 easily end up in the ditch just like so. So
you just got to buy that piece of property now off that farmer. No big deal.
Yeah, I was going to say, whoever owns that land, is that house now their eminent domain?
Well,
they now have a free house.
Yeah, it landed right side up there.
Well, I'd say
salvageable.
it's home now. There's where the house is. Yes.
They got a guest house. They'll be on Airbnb in a week.
Did it land
That's right.
on a witch?
It's not a busy highway though. It's pretty quiet. Everyone's pretty. It's old country highway there. You don't have any neighbors, so that's all good there. Yeah.
Yeah, they can advertise it's quiet and close to the highway.
That's right. There you go.
Did it land
like
on a
that.
witch?
So yeah.
Burning?
What did it land on? It was just
No
on the
feet
side of
sticking out.
the fence.
I mean,
So just
I
missed
see that Candace
by a couple
Bergen is still alive.
Spring starts in Alberta before Nova Scotia. Summer starts in Alberta before Nova Scotia. Fall starts in Alberta before Nova Scotia. Winter starts in Alberta before Nova Scotia. Seasons in Alberta is ahead of Nova Scotia.
Well, that's good news. Oh yeah, so that was one accident. I'm not done with that day yet. That Monday, that was a wild Monday. So we had the winds and we missed the snow, but that's okay. But the Trans-Canada Highway between Brooks and Medicine Hat, kind of between Tilly and Suffield there, that's where the snow fell and it got really icy. So I think it started off as rain and went over to snow. And we actually had thunder snow actually just south of Tabor on Monday. A couple lightning strikes were detected. So that's exciting stuff too. So it started off as rain because the temperatures were like 4 or 5 degrees to start the day. And then the temperature went from 4 or 5 degrees to minus 12, just like that. So that all changed over to snow. You had blizzard conditions, icy roads, and we had, I think, a 30 vehicle pileup on the Trans-Canada Highway between Brooks and Medicine Hat. And that shut down the highway for the rest of the day. So the highway was actually closed from Brooks to Medicine Hat, the Trans-Canada Highway, due to that accident. So officials, officials out of Brooks here went down and nobody was hurt. So that was the good news out of that accident in just on the Trans-Canada Highway. So no one was hurt, but they all went and picked up the people that were stranded on the side of the road and brought them in Brooks at the hotel here, reception center. And they got a kind of a warming center as well. So that was good there. And then the blizzard itself went into Saskatchewan after. And then we saw blizzard conditions widespread across the southern prairies as the storm system ripped its way through southern Saskatchewan overnight. And there's been quite a few stories. I think the highways were all shut down from Swift Current all the way to Winnipeg. So that was the situation there Monday into Tuesday. So a lot of people were stranded on the roads. And I saw a few posts of a few farmers. I think one south of Swift Current, a couple of farmers let at least 11 people in their houses because they were stranded on the roads, and they brought them back to their house and fed them and clothed them. And they were able to spend the night. And then another farm family in near Pence, Saskatchewan. I saw that story today where they one woman there was a woman who was stranded on the side of the road and she didn't know what to do next. So she pinged her location on the Pence kind of a group there, Facebook group, and they got a hold of their, and she was next to the sign, the sign going into this farm. So they came out and they brought tractors, and they brought her into the this one woman, and I think there was another guy from Vancouver, BC there, and they brought them into the house, and they gave them food, and they let them stay overnight there. So that was another story I saw today on the that was just a couple of days after the blizzard there went through southern Saskatchewan. And once again, we had those very powerful winds, and when it went through Saskatchewan, it was overnight, so it was you couldn't see anything, nothing at all. It was just, and it swept across the prairies with fierce winds and pretty intense snow. And then that carried into Monday or into Tuesday for areas around Winnipeg. So they had all those highway closures as well. And then that system eventually pulled off and allowed for the cold, very cold Arctic air to take over for a couple of days there. And we weren't too bad here in southern Alberta, probably minus 28, minus 30. So it wasn't as bad as the last time, and it didn't last very long. But areas in the eastern prairies, I think Brandon, Manitoba, one of the cold spots earlier today, minus 38, wind chills near minus 45, minus 47. That was earlier today. So that was that. And then, now into the longer term forecast. We've had a little bit of snow this week, but nothing too serious for now. As we go into next few days here, we do have we have snowfall warnings up in the northern part of the province for the February 3rd here. We have a potential for 20 to 40 centimeters of snow to fall from Grand Prairie towards Slave Lake and up towards high level. So that is going to be significant snow for northern parts of Alberta. Further to the south, it's going to stay dry, but we do have those Chinook winds that are going to ramp up on Friday the 4th there. That will be winds gusting to 100 kilometers an hour, but with a 70-knot low-level jet that's rolling through, can't rule out potential for wind gusts up to 120 kilometers an hour in the southwestern corner of the province as those Chinook winds ramp up, and we'll see those temperatures warm for the weekend with temperatures above freezing. Still kind of cold on the eastern prairies, but we have 5 to 10 centimeters of snow to fall Saturday, the 5th in Winnipeg. That's right, yeah, the 5th. And as we go into next week, looks like we might finally start seeing things warm up a little bit for Manitoba near the freezing mark, and we're going to stay quite mild until probably later on in the week. We'll have to watch another system coming in Friday and Saturday next week that might have a bit of a shift in the pattern again, and that might allow for some wintry weather woes to return to the province.
There was concern 3 weeks ago that BC was going to get this extreme cold air mass that you are currently having on your side of the mountains. And I wasn't convinced that we were going to see too much of it. And I think I erred on caution and was right. We did have minus 25 on Tuesday here on the 1st of February. So it did drop drastically in the afternoon on Tuesday. But by the Wednesday morning, it snowed and was already back. And today it was plus 5. Everything was dripping in the forest. Everything was wet. It was really gross. And looking at the long-range forecast, I'm seeing a lot of these kinds of numbers. So for Prince George listeners on 88.7 FM, I got to not slur that, 88.7 FM. Prince George, of course, I mean, this is going to be 2 days late, the news, but you're under snowfall warning right now. It's been snowing, it's been raining, it's been snowing, it's been gross. Mostly this pattern is going to stay. Of course, Prince George being kind of drier than, say, maybe some of the spots in the mountains. I'm sure in Wells we're going to see feet of snow, and sometimes February tends to be our snowiest month. The 5th, 5 degrees, cloudy, maybe 2 degrees at night. If Prince George, Sunday, much the same. Sunday, 6 degrees, cloudy. It's going to start bringing some showers. 3 degrees, chance of showers. Monday, 4 degrees in the morning, chance of showers. Maybe a high of 4 all day. Minus 3 at night, cloudy. Tuesday, 4 degrees. We're looking at maybe just below freezing at nighttime that night. Chance of showers. And Wednesday, 8 degrees possible. So just looking at, the next 7 days, from where I'm sitting now, to me it seems like BC's in for an awful lot of warm weather. And do you see any chance of that abating in the next few weeks, Brandon, or do you think that we're really kind of done in BC with the extreme cold that we had at one time?
Well, we are still in that La Nina pattern. I actually was on the stations in BC this week on Groundhog Day because they wanted me to tell them how terrible I think, what I think about the groundhogs. So yeah, I think we still have some opportunity to get another couple, maybe a few more cold snaps coming into the Western Canada here, especially as we go towards the latter part of the month and probably into March there, because we've seen that happen before. And we've seen some drastic shifts in the pattern, and definitely the cold air mass has definitely been hanging out in all parts of Canada throughout the whole winter season. Usually whenever you have a really bad winter here in Western Canada, the Eastern Canada, winter's beautiful. But this time during this La Nina season, the cold air mass has also settled in over the eastern half of the country. So it's kind of been moving around quite a bit this season compared to other La Nina seasons. So I think we may still see a chance to get back into another colder spell. We'll have to keep an eye on that longer term forecast, especially after the 12th, because it looks like things start to shift again in the Western Canada pattern here. So just something just definitely keep an eye on, because La Nina definitely isn't done with us yet, even though it's been kind of rough, especially in Manitoba this year. I get to talk about the winter season in Manitoba compared to last year. Last year they were lacking snow. Everyone's like, where's all the snow? Where is all the cold? I think they only had 2 cold spells last winter. This year they had a cold spell every week so far. So it's been been brutal in Manitoba this year, especially around Winnipeg.
One of the coldest cities of 1 million people or something like that on planet Earth, right? So lucky them.
Yeah.
With their provincial bird. All the wind blows across the prairies and puts all the mosquitoes right to Manitoba. So I got another question for you there, Brandon. So your premier, Jason Kenney, he passed a law some time ago called the Critical Infrastructure Act. And the point of this act was to probably be used against people like me, but instead it may have to be used against people who Jason Kenney supports. So it's quite ironic. What is the status of the border crossing scandal going on in Coutts right now?
Oh, the border crossing. Well, I guess there is some traffic flow today. So one person I know on my page was coming back from the U.S. today, and they were able to get through. So people are able to come across the border, but it's still only one lane back and forth so far. So that's about it on that. And I guess they're all still down there. On the side of the ditch, I guess. Yeah. Probably, yeah.
Hey,
So they're
hey, Joey, did you hear about that? Did you hear about Ange TV? That means he could interview you at some point. That's it. Ange TV, he interviewed me on December 14th, 2021. And Joey, Ange TV could interview you at some point.
I would like that.
He's from Montreal, East Island.
Angie
TV.
So I just can't wrap my head around the idea that people are mad that the border isn't open enough, so they're shutting it down. Like nothing makes sense that's going on. All I can do is laugh. However, we do have still one more person. Pete seems to have disappeared on us. Noelle is here though, and she's down in Vancouver. Noelle Chaos. How's your rainy, crappy, stinky city going on down there? It's probably been gross. Listen to me. I'm so hard on Vancouver.
It hasn't been that bad. We've had a couple of rainy days. It snowed for about an hour yesterday, and we had about a grand total of 4 flakes stick on the ground. And the temperatures have been hovering just above 0, so we're like ranging from about -2 to about +4. And we've had a couple of dry days that were nice. I've been having mild success with getting rats out of my car. I hate vermin. And yeah, I want them to find another place to live that's not my car.
Are you opposed to killing them?
What?
Are you opposed to?
Yeah, I don't wish anything bad on them. They're perfectly free to go and live their rat lives somewhere else.
That's where you and I would differ. Is I would love to kill them if they're in my vehicle. I'd scheme and.
Well, you know what? The next time I have a rodent problem, I'm going to call you to deal with it.
So one of our famous stories between our logging camp here, like with our crew, like our timber cruising crew. So sometimes we do bush jobs that are like fly-in jobs in the wilderness, right? So this one time, the guys are all out there and they chased this pack rat out of the mess tent, and they ended up catching it somehow, and they threw it into this other tent that would happen to be Dave's tent, but Dave wasn't there yet, and they zipped it up, and the thing was just going crazy inside the tent. And a little later on, they went and checked, and they couldn't find it in there. It's like, oh, it's gone. I guess he opened the zipper and got himself out. They didn't think much of it. Well, then Dave comes back. He lands in the chopper and goes in his tent and goes to bed. And in the middle of the night, I guess because the pack rat's now figured out how to open zippers, it comes back in his tent. And Dave wakes up, I guess, with this pack rat on his chest, and the thing was screaming at him, according to everybody who heard it. And then Dave was screaming, and then he was flailing at 2 a.m. and turning his tent upside down and screaming and freaking out. And I guess this pack rat was right in his face.
That reminds me of that one year at Campbell. Do you remember when I like set up my tent down by the creek, and then pack rats got in it, and they just made like a big mess of my tent. They got into my food. They make a big mess all over my tent, and I ain't seen this yet, so I just lied down to go to bed, and this pack rat scurries across my feet. And I yell at it, and I'm like, get out of my tent. I did not go on vacation to be harassed by vermin. And this Tom and Jerry cartoon erupts of me just like chasing it around my tent. Finally, I'm yelling at it. I'm like chasing it all over the place. And I finally herd it into my boat. And I open up the tent and I just throw my boot out of the tent. And I'm like, get out and stay out, you lousy vermin. And then I pick up my pillow and my blanket and I'm going to go sleep by the campfire. And I run into Becky and I'm like, Becky, did you bring a cat? Did anyone bring some cats? Because I have a problem. I need to borrow some cats. Hell with it. I'm just going to go sleep by the fire.
If I had a hairy wood rat in my tent, I would most certainly, for lack of owning an atomic bomb, light the whole forest on fire. Die! Nothing worse than a hairy wood rat. Of course, they don't really have... Well, maybe they do have hairy wood rats down in Virginia Beach. Actually, there's several different species all over North America. Do you have any hairy wood rats?
I don't know about hairy wood rats, but when I was doing a program in Colorado and camping for a few months, I was at base camp where there would be a lot of food scraps. I was woken up many a times by the common field mice gnawing on my hair or sometimes on my fingers, so it was unpleasant.
I once woke up. I was sleeping on the ground in Algonquin Park out on the Uplands backpacking trail. I was out there by myself, long ways in. I was like maybe 22 years old or so, and I was sleeping. And I had a military cock neck flashlight. It's one of those ones that has like cock necks, kind of like an L. Then I'd keep it right near me, so in the middle of the night, because I'm sleeping on the ground, if something moves or whatever, just turn on. I got my cock neck flash. So meanwhile, I'm sleeping away, and then I kind of woke up and felt this strange sensation on my face, and I suddenly, at the same time as grabbing the flashlight and grabbing this thing on my face, turning the flashlight, and then I looked at it, and it was this giant toad that had been sleeping on my face. That was it wasn't so bad. I didn't burn the whole forest down. How's the weather in Virginia Beach? You're getting lots of rain. You had snow last week. It's a bit of a mix of everything for you, eh?
Yeah, we've had quite the variety. Last week's snow wasn't as much as forecasted. Some of the forecasts were as high as 7 inches, and it turned out to be really like a half to 1.5 inches. It sort of depended because it didn't really stick most places. Like on my car last week, it was mostly just ice. The week before that was much more substantial. There are still some piles of snow in some places that haven't melted all the way. But we're looking at a high of 70 degrees tomorrow, but then for most of next week, lows in the 20s. So we got a cold week ahead of us, but it looks like rain. Got some rain on the horizon, but no more snow. And then I got a picture. Yesterday evening was the foggiest fog that I have seen in probably years. It was like a cloud descended upon Virginia Beach, and that was pretty cool. And being close to the ocean here, I could hear the foghorns from all the ships at sea constantly. It was pretty cool. So we've had quite an interesting variety. So I was surprised to see that high of 70 tomorrow. It was pretty comfortable today. I thought it was going to be colder, but we're going to get chilly week again next week. But doesn't look like we're going to have any more snow, though.
Anything interesting in the realm of weird American politics? There's always something totally weird going on down there. I'm sure you know what it is.
I haven't had my finger on the pulse as much as usual. In Virginia, it's nothing too exciting. As far as national and state politics, there's always something going on. And I don't know. I see one of my somebody that I met the other year is running for senator in Ohio, and he's running on God Country and Bitcoin is his premises. I met him at a blockchain conference when he was the treasurer of Ohio. So he's been getting in Josh Mandel. He's been on the Bitcoin magazine news circuits, like getting regular publication on the main cryptocurrency and blockchain outlets, which is an interesting combination there. Conservative, that is high on crypto stuff. Like I met him at a conference, and then he invited me for bagels the next day, and I went and had some bagels with him. And I followed up a little bit with him 2 weeks after that on text. I was telling him about a project I was involved with. So he was an acquaintance of mine. It's run for senator. It was kind of interesting, and it's been published a little bit, but I've been not in contact with him for years. I don't think American politics is as interesting as Canadian politics for once. For once, it seems like you're having more exciting
interesting
stuff
to work
going
for
on.
It's been great, Pete.
Yeah,
Can I fill you in on some of the great moments of Canada this last week? Right.
Sure.
An example of a great moment. So the alt-right liars, they just make up stuff, and then people think it's true, right? So the thing they made up last week was that Trudeau is a terrorist, and by Monday he's going to be out. And so I had people writing me this, and I'm like saying, no, but who's telling you this? Well, it's Tory, conservative member of parliament. And I said, well, on Monday he'll still be a liar. But what happened on Monday instead is it wasn't the Liberal leader, our prime minister, who lost his job, but it was the Conservative leader who lost his job on Mondays. So the complete opposite of what the alt-right said there. Totally great. Then there was this rally that went to Ottawa. A lot of their top organizers are actually well-known white supremacists. Like this guy, the two people who made this GoFundMe, it made $10 million. One was Tamara Lick and BJ Dichter. You can't make these names up. Tamara Lick and BJ Dichter. And then BJ Dichter, they're famous racists in Canada. And they started the GoFundMe. Of course, people put $10 million into it. And then she went missing on Monday. And no one knew where the money. And the same thing happened with the Yellow Vest convoy. Of course, I know what happened. It went into the war chests of white supremacist groups. But then GoFundMe froze the account. So they didn't get their $10 million. So that's great news. Oh, the list is
Good
just
for
hilarious.
GoFundMe.
The list is hilarious right now of all the bizarre things that have gone on the last week. I mean, it's long. The list is really long. That's just a couple examples.
Interesting what y'all got going on up there. It's really odd for me to see from Virginia because we're not really doing. I was at the theater downtown Norfolk today. They check vaccine cards and do masks, but pretty much all the stores and restaurants, they don't do masks and vaccine cards and that sort of thing here in Virginia. So it's very different state to state. So it's interesting watching from an outsider's view of.
Well, if you look at the Western world, the United States probably has the laxest rules in the Western world, right? What's going on in Canada isn't really different than what's happening in England or France or Germany or any of these other countries.
Or LA or New York. Is that like
right?
United States is it is dependent. Some cities and some states have more EU and Canada style rules. Like I was just in LA for Christmas, and that is more similar to what the rules are there in Canada, UK, Germany type of deal.
Did you hear about that? What's going on in Russia? In Ukraine,
I'm not
hear
about what's going on in Russia.
What's going on in Russia, Frankie?
In Ukraine, that's where Michael Sanikoff is at. Did you talk to Michael?
He was just
Sanikoff lately. What did he say? I
chatted with him, and we mostly talked business. Though he said that he's near the border there, so they are on constant concern of a conflict or invasion because he would be on the battlegrounds there. So he said they're prepared for war.
I just sent Michael Sanikoff a video message of me on Skype.
Oh yeah, he told me to say hi to you last time I talked to you. Michael says hi. So, but I think war will be avoided through some sort of diplomacy in some sort of way, but I don't think it will be. Might not be advantageous for the country of Ukraine. But
I think.
What was that?
I don't think World War III is about to break out. I would say, from a Russian military perspective, if they were going to have made a move, they would have done it when no one was fully prepared. And each day they wait, their chance of success gets less, right? So I think sometimes the peacocks strut their feathers to see how everyone will react and see what they can get away with. And if you don't make a reaction, then they might just do it, right? But
yeah, and I think it's going to be rather a slow bartering game rather than a conflict war, all-out war, because I think they can get what their interests are through pressure negotiations with the looming threat of war without actually going to war, because I know the U.S. recently granted Russia access to NATO bases, and part of that agreement was something that was not beneficiary for former Soviet Union nations in regards to those nation states of NATO. So it looks like Russia was pressuring other NATO nations to sort of reduce the clout or hegemony of the former Soviet Union nations, including Ukraine, within NATO, as part of a bartering leverage tool to divert war. But it seems like they're sort of playing a chess game where they're reducing some of the military alliances, and they'll probably gradually over years try to gain dominion over some places like Ukraine and maybe some other former Union places, and try to sort of like China and Taiwan situation, but a little bit different in regards to their control of the region without a military conflict. I think will be the likely way things play out.
Well, and from the Russian perspective, I mean, I always laugh when people are pointing fingers and saying names that are almost the exact opposite. So, the Americans are saying, well, the Russians are being very aggressive and very, when you think about it, it's like, well, actually, Russians are surrounded by American military bases on every side now. I mean, who's being aggressive? I'm not an apologist for Russia at all, but I do understand. At least I can comprehend the Russian perspective, if you know what I mean. It doesn't mean I agree with it or care, but I can at least comprehend the fear of them losing their own geopolitical power in their region, right?
Well, yeah, the United States have bases around the world, and there's the EU, there's NATO, and then there's China, and blah, 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 and they have their own national interests. But in this context with Ukraine is a much smaller country. It doesn't have all that leverage, and they might have some alliances with other nations, but I feel like they're getting the short end of the stick in this whole equation here, because in comparison, the Russia and United States have a lot more military and economic and geopolitical power in general, and they're kind of I think I don't know, doesn't seem like they're necessarily getting their fair shake, but we'll see how things go.
Is everyone ready for tough trivia with Brandon Houck? And I'm hoping he's got a number of questions.
Why don't we get back to weather, and maybe throw some science and history books at like everybody involved with that convoy.
I don't know if Brandon has all weather questions, and I don't know how many questions he has, but I know he's got a bunch this week, and I haven't seen any of his questions. So I think it'd be fine if you went through a number of your tough trivia questions. Tough trivia with Brandon Houck.
Oh, yes. Yes. Okay. So I'll go through today's question today. Well, it's sadly not weather, but it's a really good question. It's a really tough question. Okay. So 28% of high school students do this at least once a week. What do you think it is?
28% of high school students do this once a week.
Homework.
Yeah, homework. I don't know. I don't know what high school kids
Not-
do anymore.
What do you think, Frankie?
A lot of high school kids, they don't know any better. They're against a lot of other famous people, movie stars, rock stars, things like that, and pop stars. They're against the talk show hosts and things like that. They don't know any better. Most of them, and there's the other set of teenagers know better.
I'm gonna say
Very true.
28% of teenagers listen to their parents once a week.
Well, not
Go
that one.
outside.
Nope. Not that one.
Shower.
Nope. Not shower.
Eat something healthy.
I don't know.
No.
Get suspended.
Nope. Not that one.
Watch the Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, no.
Class.
Okay, I'm
No,
stumped.
skipping class.
Skipping class.
Smoke
Get drunk
Marijuana.
and be annoying on transit. I don't know.
Skipping class. I did that once a day. I would pick a different class every day. That's just so.
Want to get a hint?
By Friday, I'd be skipping the first class I skipped on Monday again. So it was skipping class, right?
That's a tough
Point.
question.
The answer was
Can we get a
skipping
hint, Brandon?
class. So all you students at CFUR and CKUW
Well, it's one-
who may still be teenagers, okay.
So if I no guesses, this one's tough.
Well, I think it's that we're all old.
Okay,
all
give us
old?
the answer.
Yeah, we're all
What is
old.
it?
Like, I don't know what high school kids do anymore.
Well,
Have unprotected sex at least once a week.
the actual answer is fall asleep in class.
Oh, that's less edgy than
Those rebels sleeping. Okay.
Sleeping in class.
I totally missed that one.
They said
Question number
Everybody-
two.
okay, this one's good from earlier. The studies show that 70% of us use this at least once per day. You ready for this? This is good.
We use this once per day. 70% of people use this once per day.
toothbrush.
No, not toothbrush.
A lot of people use that in this. And did you hear about that? What about the third world countries? That there's a lot of third world countries out there somewhere in the world.
What do those third worlders do once a day at least?
And they wash their hands and things like that, especially over in Africa.
The branded the wording was the thing that people use.
You said
Yeah.
music, so I'm gonna guess an iPod, an MP3 player, cell phone,
Cell phone, yes,
computer.
there, but it's not quite there. You probably use the cell phone to use this once per day.
Cocaine.
Or phone charger.
No,
Television.
Social media.
that's close. Very close.
My social media is my Twitter is at Frankie McD. My Facebook is Frankie McDowell. My Twitch is Frankie McDowell 984. My TikTok is Frankie McDowell 984. And my Clapper is Frankie McDowell 984. My Snapchat is Frankie MECDON. My Instagram is Frankie McD 984. My LinkedIn is Frankie McDowell. My YouTube channel is Dogs and Wolves.
Send a selfie picture.
So how do you search for Frankie's stuff though?
Google.
Google
Google.
Frankie MacDonald.
Google. Use this.
70% of us Google
That's
once
the
a day.
trivia answer.
That's the trivia answer. Yeah.
Who
Yeah.
came up with these stats? Google?
That's me. Either way, almost.
What are the
That's
other
good.
30% using? Are they using Yahoo or something? Is that even a thing anymore?
They're asking Siri or they're not going on there, I guess.
Well, DuckDuckGo is the alternative to Google if you don't want like all of the like surveillance and algorithms.
It's got better privacy. And also I noticed that Google has, I don't know, it seems like some of the results are like sort of they don't show everything that they used to.
Yeah, Google can be very censored sometimes.
Yeah. certain things. They'll show specifics.
The only thing I think it does better than DuckDuckGo is if I'm like looking for an address for something and I want to know like what the cross street or something is, then I can usually find it on Google faster than I can find it on DuckDuckGo. That's really about it.
Google come from, Frankie? Who
Somebody
that
made Google.
What does it mean?
I
Did it
think
mean anything
Google
before?
is. I think
Google is American technology company. The history of the early years. Google began in January 1996. I was in my second last year in Sidney River Elementary back then when Google began in 1996 for a research project by Larry Page and Sergey Brin. They were both PhD students at Stanford University in California.
I think the word Google is derived from some Greek word or something that means like infinity or some large number or something. I might be wrong though.
That was my trivia question. Googleplex.
And Google was eventually sold, and now it's owned by a company called Alphabet, which is a military surveillance company.
So a Googleplex,
Which is ironic because everyone calls the alphabet agencies DA, FBI, blah, 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 alphabet agencies, and their company is literally just called Alphabet.
Yeah.
Which is kind of...
Google website launched in August 1996. That's before I went to my last year in Sidney River Elementary School. The Google, Larry Page and Sergey Brin launched Google on Stanford University's network in August 1996. Google wasn't that popular back then.
So a Googleplex. Okay, this is tough though. I don't even know how to. So in pure math, how do you explain how big a Googleplex is? It's huge. So a Googleplex is like.
That means that Google Street View was introduced in 2007.
So it's like 10 to the power of 10 times 100. So there's 1 followed by 10 to the power of 100 zeros. That is a 1 followed by.
I knew it. It was
Google.
a really big number. I got that right.
It's 1 by a Google of zeros. So a Google of zeros, I'd have a hard time saying this. It'd be like 1 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0 0. And actually, there's a lot more. There's a lot of zeros. It's a Googleplex is.
I just found it though. Google was launched on September 4th, 1998. I was going to my second year in Winnipeg Memorial Junior High School. That was in my second year of middle school, September 4th, 1998. That's when Google was founded.
So I think the word Google came from Googleplex. So that's 1 with 100 zeros behind it. So that's 4 times larger than a sextillion, correct? You have one last question for us, Brandon?
Sure. Let's make it a little weather question here. All right. So this has the energy equivalent to 120 atom bombs. What do you think it is?
120 atom bombs?
A cyclone bomb or a weather bomb.
That's close. I can almost give you that one.
Yeah, a hurricane?
Not quite.
Volcano.
So
Much stronger than that.
pretty close. I could actually give it to the first one because it's a single snowstorm.
What?
Once. Yeah.
Really? The power of
lot of
120, say Hiroshima atomic bomb? Like what size of atomic bomb are we talking about? We're not talking about Tsar Bomba, some 59 megaton beast.
I don't think so. Just regular size atom bombs.
If you could figure out how to convert cold weather and snow into energy, then Canada will be a world leader in energy.
Yes. There you
That's
go.
a good one. How to convert
It is.
snow power.
Yeah, cold.
Actually, yeah. Might.
That would be how
Morning
we
show.
defeat climate change. Except the problem is we
That's
we have no lack of snow this year. It's been a lot of snow. In fact, I had a really scary fall yesterday in the bush. And so I'm in snowshoes, right? I'm on top of a meter of snow, and we got blowdown that trees that are well off the ground, and you got to get over them somehow. So I'm up on this blowdown, and then the cornice of you have the tree, and then you have this big lump of snow on top, a big pillow of it. It looks like a mushroom of snow on top of this thing. And the back piece of the cornice kind of broke off, so I started sliding backwards, and there's a tree well down
I
there.
just got a shirt from the Maritime Hustle Company in New Brunswick.
Nice. So I didn't want to
Looking
fall into
fresh.
that tree well because I'd be completely buried. So I tried to step forward, but then a small stick that was that was now exposed in the tree caught inside my snowshoe. I ended up falling face first about 1.5 meters to the ground, but my foot was still caught up on the log. And then as I was falling, there was like this really large pointed stick that my face was going right towards. I kind of put my arm out to steer my face aside, and I landed deep, just right in the snow with the stick like inches from my eyes. So I very nearly had a catastrophic accident this week in the bush, and it's, yeah, no shortage of snow fell. And there's trying to get up when your foot's stuck on a log up above you, behind you, and your face is like a meter below, like this. And it was, yeah, I got very wet, and it ruined my day. But luckily, I didn't lose an eye.
You
or a
survived
brain.
for another meteorological report.
Survived for
Yeah,
another
yeah,
meteorological
Yeah,
report.
we're glad you're okay.
I'm glad I'm okay too. Gonna be okay, everybody. Pretty sure. Gonna be all right.
Yeah.
I was never all right to begin with, but yeah, gonna be okay. Well, that's the show. I am your host, Joey Olney. We are joined, of course, with Frankie MacDonald out in Sidney, Nova Scotia, the world-famous YouTube star, 274,000 subscribers. You already heard his social media. You can find him online pretty easy if you
Now
put
it's
Frankie.
275,000 subscribers right now.
Oh, you gained another. He's up to 275. I'm at 1,000 subscribers. I'm pretty happy. Frankie's. I'll never catch up. He's the man. He's the best, and he's beautiful. Beautiful man you are, Frankie. Always good to talk to you every week. This is show 51. You are listening to us on CFUR 88.7 FM in Prince George out of the University of British Columbia, Northern British Columbia, UNBC. And maybe you're hearing us on Monday in Winnipeg on CKUW 95.9 FM and University of Winnipeg. We like to say hi to all you meteorology students in Winnipeg. We know you tune in every week and hang on every word we say because we're the only radio show about weather ever. At least the only one that's funny. It's the only one that's got handsome folks like us on. And
Yep.
yeah. This is your comedy meteorology show. We'll see you next time, everybody. Goodbye for now.
Hopefully I don't choke on popcorn here.
Well, whether it's hot, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather we got. Wait a minute. Well, whether it's cold, whether it's hot, Frankie's got the weather, whether or not.